I did not think it was possible to put together a worse list when it comes to the Memphis Grizzlies and ranking them properly than our own Locked On network did with regard to Ja Morant and Jaren Jackson Jr. But those guys look like Grizzlies experts compared to what ESPN did to Ja Morant and Jaren Jackson Jr. Who would you rather have, Derek White or Ja Morant? Don't answer that question because it's stupid. Let's lock in.
You are Locked On Grizzlies, your daily Memphis Grizzlies podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It's a vibe this Thursday on Locked On Grizzlies. I am one of your hosts, Joe Mullinax, joined by my co-host, my partner, my suave, debonair, man about town in Memphis, Tennessee, Grizzlies beat writer for the Commercial Appeal. He is Damichael Cole. So excited to have him with me. So excited for you to be with us as well here on Locked On Grizzlies. Remember, you can like, comment, rate, review, subscribe wherever you get podcasts. We're proud members of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team each and every single day. Apple, Spotify, Google, YouTube, literally anywhere you get a podcast. Become an everydayer. Hang out with Damichael and I. Become a part of our little corner of the internet that we like to call Locked On Grizzlies each and every time that an episode drops. And Damichael, ESPN dropped, just like we predicted, this list. And we were correct in that both Ja Morant and Jaren Jackson Jr. were a part of this particular listing of top players in the NBA. But if you couldn't tell from my sarcasm at the start of the show, this is, I wasn't even really sarcastic. I feel like I was very direct. This is one of the most garbage pieces of crap that has ever been put together in the history of basketball analysis. Like I said, you don't have to answer it because there is no answer. Would you rather have Derek White or would you rather have Ja Morant? And if you're going to get in the comments on YouTube or if you're going to hit me up on social media at Joe Mullinax, well, actually, Joe, if you look at the advanced numbers, it's a really close race. But Derek White, shut up. Nobody in their right mind is going to say Derek White over Ja Morant. Not even the Locked On Celtics host is going to say, you know what? I don't know if I'm interested in a guy that is possibly one of the top 10 players on the planet. He has some baggage, sure, but you know what? We're just going to throw that talent to the side. Give me Derek White. Nobody says that, Damichael. Look at it. I felt myself. We've worked on this, you and I. You've taught me some breathing exercises.
There you go. Woosah. There you go. Yeah. You need it today. I know you need it today.
I'm trying to keep it in. I'm trying to stay contained here.
Yeah.
This list, and you can go into the particulars, partner, because it's just going to make me more angry. It is ridiculous what ESPN views, and they argue it's what to expect from the 2025-2026 versions of these players, and somehow it's ranked less than what Locked On did. It makes no logical sense.
Yeah, that there are a couple things here that kind of confuse me. That's one thing, the projection standpoint of it. If we're projecting, and I think Tim McMahon, who did the blurb, the write-up in the section on Ja Morant, Tim McMahon actually pointed out that, with Isolo, Ja Morant probably is going to have a better season. So, with that.
And we know for a fact, and I want to stress, this is Joe Mullinax saying this, not Damichael Cole.
Okay.
We know how much Tim McMahon loves Ja Morant. He's a huge Ja Morant fan. Just judge it by the hit pieces that this guy did a couple years ago about Ja. Damichael is the professional. Damichael is the guy that covers the team professionally. I can say that Tim McMahon just loves Ja Morant. And if you can't feel that sarcasm dripping off my words, it was there. Continue, Parker.
Yeah. So Ja Morant ranked 20th last season. This year, falls to 33rd on ESPN's list. I was surprised, but Joe, I'm going to take a different route here, and I don't know if you're going to love this route, Joe, but I hinted onto it in yesterday's show, and the route that I'm going to take is, remember what I said in yesterday's show when I said, look, the Locked On Grizzlies. I mean, not Locked On, the Locked On Podcasting Network. Everyone who participated in that top 100 ranking. Where they had Ja Morant and Jaren Jackson Jr. We didn't agree with that. Now ESPN's list comes out where they have Ja Morant and Jaren Jackson Jr. We don't agree with that. At some point, I'm looking at me, Joe. I'm like, what am I missing? And with the added caveat that I feel like my knowledge of Ja Morant's game and Jaren's game is, respectfully up there with the best of them, seeing them as much as I do play basketball. So with that being added in, I want to say that, look, Tim McMahon in his write-up, we've talked to people on the Locked On Network, everyone, when they talk about Ja's ranking, they're not talking about how bad of a basketball player he is. I don't see that being part of the conversation. In Tim McMahon's write-up, Joe, he points out that Ja Morant has missed a bunch of time over the last 2 to 3 seasons, since the last time he was an All-NBA player. And at the end of the day, that's a fact. That's a fact. Now, what kind of infuriates me a little bit, Joe, this is where you'll probably agree with me, is there are some quote-unquote injury-prone players who are actually ranked above Ja Morant, for my money. I mean, there are a couple. I mean, for one, Scotty Barnes over the course of his career has been pretty healthy, but I think he played roughly around 65 games.
And Scotty Barnes is ranked in front of Jaren Jackson Jr.
Tyrese Maxey's coming off of an injury-riddled season.
Also ranked in front of both Ja Morant and Jaren Jackson Jr.
Yeah, I mean, we just saw Chet Holmgren is apparently he's already up there. Kawhi Leonard, who every season we're going into the season hoping that he makes it to the end of the season, was ranked 20th. So there are some injury-prone players that are ranked above them. So that part of it is like, okay, I get that. Joe, I'm trying to be reasonable. That's where I think you're seeing where I'm trying to go with this. I'm trying to understand why Ja Morant is ranked so low according to people who are, as you like to say, outside of our little bubble of the internet, outside our little corner of the internet. And what I keep getting back to is people just do not trust that he's going to be available for a large part of the season. So at this point, just prove him wrong. Just prove him wrong. I want to see Ja play 65 to 70 games, and I want to see, and if he does that, we can stop having this conversation.
But what has Scotty Barnes done?
I'm with you. He should
not be in front of
Jaren
Jackson Jr. and Ja Morant. But again, if you want to have the logical basketball argument that Jaren Jackson Jr. is the best player on the Memphis Grizzlies at this time, I might disagree with you, but I will not yell at you for that, because you can most certainly make a logical argument that Jaren is better than Ja. You can make that argument, and it's probably correct. It might not be my opinion, but I'm acknowledging that Jaren has ascended, okay? How you can have Scotty Barnes, how you can have a Tyrese Maxey, how you can have Paolo Banchero is something like 17?
He's 17th. Yeah, he's way
What
above
are we
those guys.
talking about? In what universe?
Bam
Desmond Bain is number 39. Desmond Bain changes jerseys, and all of a sudden he's 20. He's better than 20 other guys. He's only a few spots behind Ja Morant.
He was 60th last year, yeah.
And Bam Adebayo, I guess dating Asia Wilson allows for you to jump up in the rankings or something. I don't think the transitive property applies. He doesn't hang out with the GOAT of women's basketball and all of a sudden become an all-NBA player. This is one of the most ridiculous things. And it's frustrating because I truly believe that the Memphis Grizzlies, one of two things is happening. Either people don't pay enough attention, which in my 13 years following the team, sure, right? 14 years following the team, sure. Yeah. Or it is they are holding Ja and Jaren to a different standard. They are holding Ja to an availability standard, like you alluded to, with other players that are also injury prone. They're not holding them to that standard. They are not holding if they're, Jaren has too many injuries. Jaren isn't able to stay on the court either because of foul trouble. There's other guys like a Chet Holmgren, as you alluded to. There's other players that have those issues. How come it is specifically, it feels like to me, specifically guarded against the Grizzlies? It seems to me that there is a bias against the Memphis Grizzlies when it comes to these rankings. And again, I was mad at our Locked On list, and I'll pull it up one more time, even though it makes me angry every time I see it. I was mad at this. Jaren at 25 and Ja at 28. Jaren is at 30 on the ESPN list, and Ja is at 33. It's unbelievable.
Chet's behind them both on this list, and then on ESPN, he's pretty much well in front of them. So,
well, and there's some recency bias there, right? Like Pascal Siakam's a good basketball player. He's not the number 22 guy in the NBA. Jalen Williams had a hell of a run to the NBA Finals. I think ESPN has him 11th. 11th.
They really believe in J-Dub.
J-Dub is 11th on this list. So ESPN, this is the last time we're going to talk about you. Well, that's not true. This happens every year. We talk about this every year, Damichael. I think that I've matured.
This is annual.
I'm another year older, a little more gray in the beard, a little more bald up top. I think I've advanced.
Just prove them wrong.
I think that's where the Grizzlies have to be. And I know that's exactly what Jaren and Ja are going to say when asked about it, if they are asked about it.
That's it.
Here at Media Day in a few days. Make sure you're hitting us up on X, at Joe Mullinax on my end, at Damichael C. Let us know in the comments. How are you feeling about this ESPN ranking? Are you as angry as me? Did you expect it? Do you think it's right? Because there's some folks in the comments that agree with Ja being ranked lower on these list partners. So we have to acknowledge that there's different opinions. I'll just acknowledge that your opinion is wrong. When we come back here on Locked On Grizzlies, we are going to take a look at Jaren Jackson Jr.'s Memphis impact. I think that's underrated. He hosted an elite camp recently, and that's pretty cool for Nike to do there in the city of Memphis. We talk about Zach Randolph. We talk about Tony Allen, guys that have had real impacts on the city. Jaren's been around for a while. I think it's time to start putting him in that upper tier of great Memphians that are also Grizzlies. Stick around here on Locked On Grizzlies. Today's episode of Locked On Grizzlies is brought to you by the good folks over at FanDuel. I'm a big fan of FanDuel, and you should be as well. The NFL season has arrived, and FanDuel is making sure that you are ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. If your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love using FanDuel because when I want to place a bet on my Washington Commanders, one of the top 10 teams in the NFL, led by dominant quarterback play from whether it's Jaden Daniels or Marcus Mariota, a tremendous running game, a stout defensive line, all the good stuff that comes Commanders. I want to place a big old bet that they're going to win this Sunday. You can do it very simply, or maybe you want to bet on a player prop or a same-game parlay, jumping in live as the action unfolds. You can do it all, and it makes every game, even the ones involving lesser teams like the Green Bay Packers, more exciting, whether you're watching your team or just keeping an eye on your fantasy lineup. It's quick, easy, and the best way to add a little more energy to Sunday. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. I'm sorry that your Packers had to catch a stray there, partner. In fairness, the Packers did beat the Commanders, but you lost to the Browns, so it kind of cancels it out as far as I'm concerned.
I knew it would come at some point. It's all good. It's all good. We'll win much more.
Yeah. Jaren Jackson Jr. Hosted an elite camp. For those that aren't familiar with these Nike elite camps, it's an opportunity for top prospects in an area to get some shine. And Jaren hosts one in Memphis. That's a really big deal for the community there, the recruiting of basketball in Memphis. And I mentioned before we got to the segment, partner, Jaren does a lot in the city, whether it's for women's sports, because it was female players, right? It was women's basketball players, not just men's basketball players at this elite event. Whether it's women's sports, whether it's other types of charity work. I shouted out Zebo and TA earlier. They're kind of seen as community legends there in Memphis, Tennessee. Jaren does it in a different way, right? I don't think Jaren and TA and Zebo are necessarily on the same wavelength when it comes to the cliques that they might hang out with after games. But I do think that Jaren is doing a lot of the same kind of tremendous work with a love in his heart for the community, for the city of Memphis. The Grizzlies unveiled the black alternate jerseys for the 25th anniversary of the team coming to Memphis. And it really is cool to see him kind of be that face of the franchise. John Morant had his chance to be that, and he hasn't been, really, for a variety of reasons that we don't need to go into on this podcast. Jaren Jackson has taken that mantle, and he's run with it. And I think he's really doing an impressive job, both within the Grizzlies organization as well as out in the community at large.
Yeah, when it comes to Jaren Jackson Jr., intentionality is the word that comes to mind for me, Joe. And when I say intentionality, it's not a forcefulness, as a player in the NBA. Sometimes with guys in the NBA, when it's like, hey, go do this community event, they're like, okay, fine, I'll do it. But then there are other players where you don't have to really ask them. They want to do these things. There's more of a assertiveness, more of an intentionality to be in the community and show your face and things like that. And with this Nike Elite Basketball Camp, I was able to go out there, for a little while and just to see some of it unfold. And of course, as you mentioned, it was girls and boys. I mean, it was some talent in there. For someone, I grew up in Memphis. I've seen a bunch of real big time D1 players come from Memphis over the course of, my childhood and watch a lot of them up close. And just to see, the room was filled. I mean, you had, I think there were three guys on the boys' side who had offers from the University of Memphis. Dylan Jones has an offer from my alma mater, University of Tennessee. He was there. There were on the girls' side. You had some girls who already had Division I offers and some who were well on their way. But the guys were more of a younger group. You had a lot of 2027 through 2029 kids in that group. With the girls, you had a few more in the 2026 class, seniors, but you also had some 2027, 2028. But it wasn't just that Jaren threw them all on the court and said, hey, go play ball and we're just going to watch you guys. No, there were two courts and he'd be over there half the time, talking with the guys, interacting with them. And then he'd slide over there with the girls and he's blowing the whistle. He's being the referee, and someone falls to the ground, he's helping them up. And all these things that are intentional, because to him, they may be small. To me and you, we just see it in real time and may be small. But to that person 20 years from now, man, I remember I fell on the court and Jaren Jackson Jr., gave me a hand and picked me up, So it's those small, subtle things. Like I still talk about it to this day. And I've actually talked to Zach Randolph about it because he doesn't really remember. It's just kind of how it goes, and in their shoes. But I remember when Zach Randolph came to my high school, he was just posted up on the locker in the hallway. Like we didn't get some big note that, hey, Zach Randolph's going to be here today or anything like that. He's just standing in the hallway talking to somebody, posted up on the locker. And we're like, what's today? That's Zebo. That's Zach Randolph. So you had those moments. You had Penny. When we had big basketball games, man, I wonder is Penny going to come today? Because he always used to go to like the biggest basketball games, in the city and things like that. So it's the intentionality down to, Joe, he broke down film with them. They had, I've been to a couple, elite basketball camps or whatever the case may be, but seeing Jaren Jackson Jr. call all the girls, call all the boys up, they sat on the little bleachers or whatever, and he turned the film on and he's breaking down the film with them and basically showing them this is how we do it as pros. So there was a lot of that. And then, of course, as we talked about Mayor Paul Young, being, at the camp, he was the guest speaker. Jaren having that relationship with the mayor, being able to pull in the mayor to speak to the kids, that's a flex. But then at the end of the camp, he has his personal chef, fix a meal for the kids. So I think it just shows the intentionality that he has. And like you said, Joe, he's becoming one of those players that we're going to talk about for years and years, about what he's done in the community. In so many different aspects, right? Like, I think this is the area that he's starting to grow in more, just, kind of taking that next generation of basketball players. And these are really good basketball players. These are going to be Division I prospects. Somebody in that group might make the NBA and possibly play with or against Jaren one day. And I'm going to write the story about the time they were at the elite basketball camp. So it's a cool thing to see unfold, in real time. But more than anything, Joe, it's the intentionality to me. This is what he wants to do. He told me, he's been wanting to do a Nike Elite Camp for years, and with the help of Nike, he was finally to push through.
There's different kinds of wealth, right? Obviously, Jaren has achieved generational wealth, especially with this new contract extension. But there's the kind of wealth that money can't buy, and it's those kinds of impacts, right? It's one of the things that, people that teach or coach, not to name any names, one of the things that we talk ourselves into in terms of, oh, well, maybe I'll never have a bunch of money, but I know that I'm helping kids and I'm putting myself in a position to make the world a better place. And Jaren has a platform where he's able to do that 1,000 times over in a variety of ways. And it's good to see him acknowledge that, right? The intentionality, that's a great word there. He is very aware of the platform that he has, and he plans on using it for good. He plans on helping make Memphis better, expanding the opportunities for female athletes, which is tremendously important. The work that he does in and around the city, he really should be commended for it. So kudos to you, Jaren Jackson Jr. I'm sure you're an everydayer, just like all these other wonderful folks hanging out with us today. And I know that you represent the team well, the organization well, but you also represent the city of Memphis well. And that to me carries a lot of weight. So kudos to you, Jaren Jackson Jr. Congratulations on the success. Rooting for you heading into this season because of all the good that you do around Memphis. When we come back here on Locked On Grizzlies, we're going to close out this episode of the show. All eyes on training camp, looking ahead to what we're most excited for from the week that will be in Nashville. Stick around here on Locked On Grizzlies. Oh, Damichael, you know who's back. This episode is brought to you by SKIMS. When I found out that SKIMS is making underwear for men, I was intrigued. I have heard so much about their quality from friends, family. I had to give it a try. Let me tell you, it lives up to the hype. I have always had issues with underwear, if I'm being honest. Fit, comfort, finding the right style for me. But SKIMS changed all that. Their men's line offers something for everybody, from boxer briefs to classic briefs, all designed with the perfect balance of comfort and style. I do my best to get exercise each and every day, and I don't like going to the gym or going on a run in my neighborhood and wearing synthetic feeling workout underwear, especially when I'm done at the gym. But once you try on SKIMS stretch boxer briefs, it feels like you find the missing link. They give you all the movement you need for working out without feeling like you're walking around wearing gym clothes your entire day. Plus, they never lose their shape or ride up, and maybe it's in my head, but I swear, since I've started wearing these things, my gains have improved as well in terms of my run times. Shop SKIMS Mens at skims.com. Let them know that we sent you here at Locked On Grizzlies, and after you place your order, select podcast in the survey and select our show in the drop-down menu that follows. Go check out SKIMS today. Wrapping up this edition of Locked On Grizzlies, it is I, Joe Mullinax, hanging out with Damichael Cole, my wonderful co-host. Happy to be with you on this Thursday edition of the show. Training camp opens in about 5 days, partner, and it's a chance for us to kind of look ahead. For those that are frequenters of the show in the fall, I will not be on the Friday episode. Got my own games to worry about, but I do think ahead of Media Day, which we'll talk more about to start next week, it makes sense for us to kind of reflect on what we're most excited about going into this training camp. If it's okay with you, I'll go first.
Go for it.
I am excited for Ty Jerome. And that's kind of a cheater answer because I'm a UVA basketball fan.
Of course you are. Of course you're excited for I bet you're excited for Braxton Key too, aren't you? You're so excited for Braxton Key.
No, I do love Braxton Key. I've had to
G League
that one
Defensive Player of the Year.
A 28-year-old G League player. I mean, God bless him, right? He's doing exactly. He's playing professional basketball, man. Good for him. Shout out to Braxton Key. But no, I'm excited for Ty Jerome, and it's going to kind of seem like a cheater question here. The Grizzlies don't have many successful free agent signings. Right, Tyus Jones, I think you could argue, was probably the most successful one to date, or maybe Tony Allen, right? TA would maybe say he was a success. There aren't many throughout the course of Grizzlies history. Ty Jerome has a chance to be the greatest free agent signing in the history of the Memphis Grizzlies. That's a low bar to clear, but if he can come in and be the kind of player that he was in Cleveland, a dark horse, 6th man of the year candidate. Tyus Jones was, I think, briefly for some time a 6th man of the year candidate, not fully. Tony Allen was a defensive player of the year guy, of course. He was in that mix, but never quite a 6th man of the year. I think that Ty Jerome will have the opportunity to be the best free agent signing in Grizzlies history, and I am interested in taking in all of the content that centers around Ty Jerome getting comfortable with his new surroundings. I think he is going to get the chance to be that three-point marksman, to be that offensive creator off the bench. What he does with it, especially coming off of that putrid playoff series that probably cost him some money against the Indiana Pacers, is going to be fascinating to watch unfold.
Yeah, I'm going to keep an extra eye on Ty Jerome just for you, Joe, while I'm out there in Nashville.
I know it's going to pain you, but I appreciate you doing that for me.
No, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. They're going to look. I've said what I said at this point. They can use the 3-point shooting that Ty Jerome brings to the table. They can use that. But the guy that I'm paying extra close attention to is another newcomer, but it's a rookie. I want to see Bigfoot. I want to see the mystery man. I want to see Cedric Coward. I keep hearing about the guy, Joe. I keep hearing about him. And at some point, I'm like, what John Morant says, block out the noise. I want to block out all the noise. I'm tired. At this point, I just got to see it. I just got to see it. I want to.
You can't block out the noise without throwing it away, partner. You blocked out the noise, but you didn't throw the noise away. There you go.
I got to throw the noise away and then block it out. There we go. But yeah, we're blocking out the noise on Locked On Grizzlies. But I can't wait to see Cedric Coward. with my own eyes, with my own, mind, right? I want to see him participating in shooting drills and see his competitiveness out on a practice floor in that setting and whatnot. I think, we've heard things about him and we have an idea, right? With the measurables, we've talked about it. It's 6'6", 7'1.5", 7'2" wingspan. He can play the 2, he can play the 3, potentially could slide down to the 4 with that wingspan. He's very confident shooter, good defensive upside, and you traded up in the draft to get him with the 11th overall pick. But he only played 6 games last season. And before that, he played at a smaller school, right? So it's like you want to see him in a bigger situation, and it's going to happen fast. We're going to see him in the preseason and whatnot. But I think as we talk about training camp, when I set my eyes on Kemp, as we're saying here, when I set my eyes on Kemp, I want to look at Cedric Howard. What is he doing? What does he look like? How is he fitting in with that group? He's one that I got my eyes on, Joe.
And one that we both will probably agree on because we were so far off last year is just whatever they have in Vince Williams Jr., right? What Vince Williams Jr. can be in terms of that competition. He's kind of the odd man out.
I think he's the other mystery man.
Yeah.
That's mystery man number 2 for me.
People love Gigi Jackson. I would say he's probably the fan favorite to try to be in that mix in the rotation. But what can Vince Williams Jr. be? What can he bring to the table?
Let's make a break.
Can he crack the rotation? It's a huge year for him. Yeah. So I feel like we're both probably interested in what Vince Williams Jr.'s health is like and what Vince Williams Jr. is able to be in terms of these ESOLO schemes.
Yeah. And he's got a cut now too. He cut the hair. So I don't know if he's growing it out, but last time I seen him, he got a haircut. So, but yeah, he's got a new look to him, and we're hearing that, like this is going to be a healthier version of him. Okay, so if it's going to be a healthier version of him, we should be seeing the version from a couple seasons ago. And some people will point, yeah, that version played, much higher volume or whatever the case may be. And I'll point to that game on December 19th when Ja Morant was healthy, and the lineup was Ja Morant, Desmond Bane, Jaren Jackson Jr., Bismack Biyombo, and Vince Williams slid right in between them. He fit like a glove. He looked at that time, at that game, he looked like the future starting 3-man of the Memphis Grizzlies. And things have happened. A lot's happened since then. A lot has changed since then. That was before we really got to see Gigi Jackson. That was before they drafted, Cedric Howard. Jalen Wells, that was before he was drafted. So a lot has changed since then. But I'm with you. I want to see if he can kind of, recapture some of that magic, because it's like we said, it's make or break year. The Grizzlies got a club option on him, and they're loaded on the wings at this point. So like if Jalen Wells and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope play well, and you got Gigi Jackson, continuing to take those strides, as a 20-year-old, and then you got Cedric Howard playing well, somebody's got to go, and it's more than likely going to be Vince Williams Jr. in that case. So, I think that is something I want to see. I want to see him say, I'm 100% healthy, and I'm back to that player that I was. I want to hear that. I don't want to hear the skating around it. I don't want to hear, I'm going to try to be that guy. No, I want to hear that the old Vince Williams Jr. is back.
And then you want those words to translate to actions in the practices that you'll be witnessing there at training camp as the season gets underway. Let us know on X, at Damichael C, at Joe Mullinax. Hit us up in the comments. Where are your eyes heading into training camp next week? Thank you so much for being with us on this edition of the podcast. I do want to remind you, unfortunately, that the NBA Top 100 list is here. I say unfortunately, I need to be more positive. It was voted on by the NBA hosts of the Locked On Podcast Network, our Top 100, formed by experts that cover the teams and players every day. You can find the full list on Locked On Sports Today on YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. I can't really hate on them anymore because the ESPN list is worse. So kudos to you, Locked On NBA Top 100 content creators. You guys, I guess, nailed it when you're compared to ESPN. But go check out Locked On Sports Today, and we'll continue to talk about that list here or there moving forward. Tomorrow's episode, as I alluded to earlier on, going to be a solo show for you, partner. What are you thinking for the Friday edition of Locked On Grizzlies? You got to get down on Friday, even when I'm not around.
We got to get down on Friday. But yeah, I think, we'll get into a little bit more of, the training camp anticipation. I think that's kind of where we are at this point of the season. I actually got a story that I wrote this morning, talking about some of the things that I'm looking forward to in camp as well. But yeah, I like the individual player angle. Now that we're here, we can kind of get more into the nitty gritty of what to expect from these guys as we get to training camp here in a few days.
Like, comment, rate, review, subscribe wherever you get podcasts. Make Damichael and I a part of your NBA and Memphis Grizzlies content consumption each and every time that an episode drops, whether it's YouTube, Apple, Spotify, Google, Amazon, literally anywhere you get a podcast. Make us an everyday piece of your internet experience surrounding the Memphis Grizzlies and the NBA at large. Make sure that you are checking us out each and every day. Make sure that you are making us your first listen each and every day, and make sure that you're back here tomorrow for Lockdown Grizzlies. For Damichael Cole, I am Joe Mullinax. Stay locked in. We will catch you back here tomorrow. Until then, see ya.